Welcome everybody at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. This is a place where we take care of orphan baby elephants and orphan baby rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. And right now we're going to bring you a live viewing of the elephants being fed on the milk at 11 a.m. We feed them in the nursery on intervals of 3 hours day and night. And that is why right now at 11 is one of their feeding moments, and they're ready to come and get the milk. The Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is a project that was started officially back in the year 1977 after the death of David Sheldrick, who was a naturalist and the senior founder warden of the Nairobi National Park. He died in 1977. And this project is memory under the management of the widow, who is now the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, who's been running the project since then until 2 years ago when she passed on, leaving the mandate to her daughter Angela Sheldrick, who was running the project together with the mother for about 17 years before the mother passed on. Right now, the project is under the management of Angela Sheldrick. And so we take care of orphan baby elephants and orphan baby rhinos and later using them back into the wild. And that is why all the babies you're going to see here today are orphans, and all have been rescued from different parts of the country. And they have different reasons for being orphans. Some of them, we know exactly what has caused them to be left orphans, and that's why we rescue them. Others, we are really not very sure. But since the others were found when they are still at a very young age, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk, and also without protection against other dangers, that is why we had to come in and help rescue them, so that we can hand raise them here for approximately 3 years. And any time after the age of 3, start to reintroduce them back into the wild within Sava Conservation Area, a process that takes them about 5 years before they get adopted in a herd of wild elephants. The elephants are joining us now to have the milk. As we said, this is one of the feeding times, and the first one to come in today is an elephant by the name Ziwadi, who is approximately 2 years old, who was rescued from the Masai Mara, who was identified all alone within the park, and nobody knows exactly what happened to the mother. We suspect she might have been abandoned or left behind by the rest of the family members. And when she came in the nursery, she was either going the opposite direction or being left behind. And later on, we discovered that she's epileptic, and sometimes she goes into seizures, and that's when she's left behind. We put her on medication. She's actually improving, and we expect her to be back to normal and go back into the wild when it is time ready. I also have got Lugard here, who is about 4 years old. And Lugard was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near the Lugard Falls. He was found with a bad injury in the knee. He was found too late for proper surgery to take place. He's one of the elephants that we'll be able to take to Kibwezi Forest when he's ready to go. In front of Lugard, we've got Satau, slightly over 3 years. And Satau was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near the famous place known as Satau. The mother is believed to have been killed by poachers. He was left alone while at the age of about 4 months. Right now, he's approximately over 3 years and one of the older bulls that we've got in the nursery at the moment. And any time from now, ready to go back into the wild and start the process of reintroduction. One of Satau's friend is Musiara on my right, who is also 3 years old. And Musiara was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified all alone within the park while at the age of about 1 month, which is not normal and also not safe. And this is not safe because an elephant at 1 month does not have any teeth to browse on greens. They entirely rely on the mother's milk. He did not have a mother to provide the milk nor protection So he was just very lucky to be found still alive at 1 month. And that's why we rescued him. Right now, over 3 years. And anytime from now, ready to go back into the wild and start the process of being reintroduced. Next to Musiara, we've got Maktau, who is 2.5 years, who happens to be one of the polite boys in the nursery, who was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Maktau. He was found in our community all alone, while at the age of about 3 months. We could not tell exactly what happened to the mother, but being found in our community suspects that he might have been separated from his family by human beings, and so he's a victim of human-wildlife conflict, and that's why we rescued him at 3 months, right now 2.5 years. We also have got Ndololo on the other side, who is almost 3 years. And Ndololo was rescued from Sava Conservation Area near a place called Ndololo. He was found floating down a waterhole, all alone, very thin, very weak, very much dehydrated and emaciated. The status he was found in could tell that he had been alone for a very long time and was as well starving and needed an urgent rescue, and that's why we rescued him. Right now, approximately 3 years, and so far adjusting well in the nursery. The youngest elephant in the nursery, actually this is not the youngest, this is the second youngest, an elephant by the name Roho, who is approximately 14 months old. And Roho was rescued from Sava West National Park. The mother is believed to have been killed by poachers, and that's why he was left alone. Right now, approximately 14 months old. Next to Roho is Enkesha, over 3 years old. And you might have realized that Enkesha's got a wound on the trunk, which was caused by a snare. She was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was found trapped in a snare all around her trunk, and that's why we rescued her. And when she came in the nursery in the first place, we called in the vets to come and stitch the trunk back to normal, a surgery that was successfully done. But after a few days, before the wound was healed, the elephant managed to take off all the stitches from the trunk. And that's why you might have realized part of the trunk is open, but it is healing well. All the wound around has healed. She's in a position to use the trunk properly because the trunk is full of muscles. She manages to squeeze the muscles together, cover the opening, and suck the water and blow. Come on. Don't do that. Kesha, don't do that. Behave. Sorry for that. Well, with elephants, there's always a push and pull around. And that's what was happening. And this was coming from Enkesha trying to bully around Ziwadi. I do have an elephant by the name Kiombo, who is approximately 2.5 years. And Kiombo was rescued from the Masai Mara. Kiombo was identified all alone within the park, while at the age of below a year old. We could not tell exactly the whereabouts of the mother. On my right, we've got the oldest elephant in the nursery, an elephant by the name Tagwa, who happens to be the main matriarch or the leader of all the elephants that we've got in the nursery, who is almost 4 years old. She was rescued from Mount Kenya forest after she had been separated from her family by human beings. She's a victim of human-wildlife conflict. She was only 8 months when she came in. Right now, she's approximately almost 4 years old. On my left, I do have Nabulu, who is approximately 3 years old. And Nabulu was rescued from the Masai Mara. She was identified all alone within the park, very thin and very weak. And this is a sign that she had stayed for some time without her mother's milk and was starving as well. And that's why we rescued her, but we could not tell what exactly had caused her to be left an orphan. I do have the youngest elephant in the nursery on my right, Naleku, approximately 10 months old. She was rescued from the Masai Mara. The mother died from a natural disease, and that's why she was left alone at about 6 months, right now approximately 10 months, and adjusting well in the nursery. On my left, I do have the latest arrival in the nursery, an elephant by the name Naboishu. Come on, Nabulu, behave. An elephant called a Naboishu. A Naboishu is approximately 18-month old. Naboishu was rescued from Masai Mara. Also, the mother believed to have died from a natural disease, and that's why Naboishu was left alone. I do have Maisha next to me at over 3 years old. And Maisha was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. She's a drought victim. Her mother believed to have died from starvation due to drought, and that's why she was left alone. We've been joined by Lara on the other end, who is almost 2 years old. And Lara was rescued from the Masai Mara or Lara Conservancy, identified all alone within this conservancy and suspected to have been separated from her family by human beings. And so she's a victim of human-wildlife conflict. I will talk about Kiasa on my left, who is almost 3 years old. And Kiasa was rescued from Sava Conservation Area. She's also a drought victim. The mother died from starvation due to drought, and that's why she was left alone at 8 months. And when she came in, she's always been known as the naughtiest elephant around. She's the one who's been trying to bully everyone around until the arrival of Rojo in the nursery that changed all her character, and she changed from the bad girl to the matriarch or the little mini matriarch and the mother figure we expect. When she'll be old enough, or when all the big ones will have left the nursery, she'll be left as the main matriarch around. Lastly, I'll talk about Mukoka, right at the far end behind Tagwa. And Mukoka is about 2 years old. Mukoka was rescued from northern part of Savo East National Park, a place called Idumba. He was identified by aerial surveillance on patrol, who found the baby all alone within the park without the mother and without a sign of other elephants close to him. They observed him hoping for the mother to come back and collect the baby, but none existed, which meant that he was an orphan. That is the reason to why a decision was made to go out and help rescue him at about 7 months. Right now, approximately 2 years old, and he happens to be one of the greediest elephants that we've got in the nursery. He's always the first one to come in for the milk, and when it is time for the feeding, he wants to be in front. If the other elephants comes and goes past him, he will complain a lot and make a lot of noise and shout because he always wants to be in front. The two boys trying to size up, Satao and Musiara, trying to show who is stronger than the other. So if you're joining us now, welcome. We are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust Nairobi Nursery, and we are at the feeding place for the 11 a.m. milk feed. The elephants are fed on intervals of 3 hours day and night. So they've just had the bottles now at 11. They are enjoying to have some browse around before they go back into the park. And the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe in the park. And the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is doing this through other projects that we undertake. For example, the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust has got mobile veterinary units that will go around the parks looking for injured animals, treating them and setting them free to continue with their own natural life immediately after treatment. We also have anti-poaching teams that will go around the parks looking for snares and desnaring them. And the snares are the traps that are set in the parks, especially by the poachers and sometimes by the communities neighboring the park to get hold of these other tiny animals for game meat or for skin. And so our anti-poaching teams will make sure that they put off all the snares from the parks. They'll also help drive away the people that are burning charcoal in the park to ensure that the park is safe for all wild animals. We also have a dog unit that works together with our anti-poaching teams. In case the signs of poachers are identified, the dogs will assist and make sure that the poachers are caught in the long run. We've got an aerial surveillance that will patrol to monitor what is happening in the park. In case there is anything that is happening that should not be, then our aerial surveillance will be able to notify the rangers on the ground who will correct that. We also have a community project that will go around the communities that are neighboring the park and the reserve, giving them education on how to coexist and stay peacefully neighboring one another with these wild animals. The same community project will also go around the schools that are neighboring the parks and the reserve, giving education to the children so that they need to learn when they're still young the importance of conservation and wildlife in general, so that when they're fully grown, they will help protect and care for all these wild animals. So all that is working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to protect the animals and to ensure that the parks are safe. Rolling on the ground is Maisha. It is not warm enough for them to go and roll in the water and have a mud bath. They do it when they want to. We provide it and let them do what they want. So if you're joining us now, welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. And we've got 18 elephants before us now. They've already finished the milk feed. And we feed them on intervals of 3 hours day and night. The elephants need a 24-hour care all day out in the park with the keepers. And all the bushes around is part of Nairobi National Park. They go out at 6 in the morning so that they can learn by natural instinct on how to behave as elephants. They come back for bed at 5 and spend the night in the rooms. This is to ensure that they are protected from other dangers out in the park. For example, we've got the lions and the hyenas. And also for the young ones to make sure that they're kept warm, especially those that are 2 years and below. They need to be protected from coldness because elephants can easily get pneumonia, and it becomes a problem when they have pneumonia because you can't tell the signs in advance to start the treatment. You cannot tell the signs in advance because the lungs of an elephant are attached to the rib cage, and so they cannot cough. Out in the wild, elephants or young babies are always surrounded by the rest of the herd, and the babies will get heat from the bigger ones. Here we only have a bunch of orphans who are all still young and not related, and that's why they have to spend a night in a stockade or a stable, have a keeper to make sure that they're covered with the blankets, they're fed on demand or every 3 hours, and also they're kept company, and that's why they need a 24-hour care. You might also be wondering what type of milk are we feeding them, because I talked of feeding them on intervals of 3 hours. We don't have an elephant milk because we cannot milk a wild elephant and get the real milk. And that's why we feed them on a human baby formula, whose fats have been emulsified to make it easier for the babies to digest. And it took the founder of this place, the late Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, about 28 years to discover that this is the right formula for them. Before that, she used the try and error method and lost most of the first orphans. But once she pioneered this formula, most orphans have survived and gone back into the world. And that is why it is believed to be close to the real mother's milk. And we feed them on intervals of 3 hours day and night. And that's why one elephant among the big ones take about 24 liters of milk in a day. And the two tiny ones take about 14 liters of milk in a day. So if you're joining us now, welcome at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery. We've got 18 elephants with us, and you might want to help support this project. There are different ways you can help do it. You just need to go on our website, find out how you can help support. You can buy a bottle of milk for the elephants. You can help support any of our other projects that are done by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. You can help by adopting or sponsoring an elephant, which is costing a minimum of $50 a year. And you can adopt an elephant for yourself, or you can do it as a gift to somebody else. And if you do it as a gift, the gift recipient receives the updates every month for a year. But if you do it for yourself, you also receive the updates every month for a year. So you can help support the project in different ways. Just go on our website, find out how to donate, and you will have ensured that these orphans have a better life in the nursery before we set them free back into the world. If you've already adopted an elephant in the nursery, we've got 18 elephants here, and right close to me is Naleku, the youngest we've got in the nursery. If any of you has adopted Naleku, we've got Naleku close to me now. I do have Maisha right behind Naleku. Maisha is one of the little mini matriarchs that is assisting Tagwa, who is the main matriarch who takes care of everybody around. Then we've got Roho behind Maisha. Roho is the second youngest and second smallest and the youngest boy in the nursery at the moment. Second biggest, we've got Tamio right here, who is about 3.5. And then we've got Kiasa right on my right hand. Standing at the top of the hill, we've got Kiombo. And Naboishu is the latest arrival that we've got in the nursery at the moment. So just to remind you again, the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust is working together with the Kenya Wildlife Service to ensure that all animals are safe in the parks. The parks also are safe for all wild animals, and that is why we've got all other projects that are done by the Sheldricks within the national parks. Ndololo right close to me if you're joining us now. Anaboishu here. Ziwadi at the far end. And Mukoka standing at the edge of the waterhole. Nabulu next to me, one of the big girls, assisting Tagwa to take care of all the little ones in the nursery. So, if you're joining us now, we are at the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, Nairobi Nursery, where we take care of orphan baby elephants, rhinos, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. And all these orphans, so these babies are here because they're orphaned, being orphaned from different parts of the country with different reasons. Some of them, the mothers have been killed by poachers due to the trade in ivory. Some have been separated from their families by human beings, what we call human-wildlife conflict, which is on increase in our country at the moment. And a few of them, the mothers have died from natural reasons, like old age, natural diseases, and starvation out in the world. And all this has happened to the mothers when the babies are still very young, at an age where they would not have survived without the mother's milk and protection. And that's why we rescue them, hand-rear them here for 3 years. After 3 years, we take them to Tsavo East National Park, where we reintroduce them to different groups of wild elephants. We've got 3 reintroduction centers. Northern part of Tsavo East called Edumba Stockades. We also have the Voi Stockades. Then we've got in Kibwezi Forest, Umani Springs, where we've got elephants that have got physical challenges. They get monitored for a longer time in a wild environment, and they interact with other wild elephants, and so they will eventually become wild. And when all this has happened, when they have all joined the wild families, we can successfully say we've achieved our target, because our main target here is to rescue them since they were found orphans, hand-rear them, and later on reintroducing them back into the wild. So you might have realized the elephants are slowly heading away, heading out into the park. They've had enough of the greens and the rolling in the mud around. They will be going into Nairobi National Park for the rest of the day, so that they can come back for bed in the evening at 5. While in the park, they're set free to do what they want. If they want to play, if they want to sleep, so they decide what they want to do out there. So we will let them go and continue with the rest of the day out in the park. And I want to say thank you very much for those of you that join us during this live feeding, and we hope to bring you more next time. And remember to keep safe wherever you are.